Hi you guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Karen Odd and these are Karen's Oddities. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Regardless, I do want to ask that you give this video a thumbs up, comment your thoughts below, even if you disagree with my content. And I also want to ask that you subscribe to my channel and that you share this channel and our video with one person that you know, as I'm confident there is something here that both you and they can benefit from. Let's get into today's video. So I'm back at home, clearly. How sad, right? Before I continue with the video, this is a pin. It's green and it has like that little ribbon thing. This is for mental health awareness. I attended an event earlier today and this was like this was on one of the giveaway tables and I put it on and it was part of my outfit for the day. Small like reminder, right? Mental health is super important. I think I talk about that in a lot of my videos. And if you are going through something, then please don't go through it alone and talk to someone that can help you get through that thing. Let's get into today's video. So I said I wasn't gonna wait forever to record this video, and I'm doing just that. I just got back from Colombia less than 24 hours ago. I'm tired right now, but we're gonna push through this video. I have my notes ready on things that I wanna discuss as it relates to my recent travel. So first things first, I was in Colombia for 5 nights, 6 days. I decided to go to Medellín, Colombia. Other large cities that you might hear about and that other people might visit are Cartagena and Bogota. The reason that we opted to go to Medellín versus Cartagena and Bogota was I did my research, right, to determine what is the safest location to visit. If you're familiar with Colombia, a lot of times when people think of Colombia, they think of the Narcos show, they think of Pablo Escobar, they think of cocaine, drugs, prostitution, and partying. That might not be all that comes to mind, but for a lot of us, like there are all these stereotypes associated with visiting the country. There are a lot of concerns as it relates to human trafficking, drug trafficking, cartels, kidnapping, etc. And a lot of that may still be true, right? But I think that with a lot of the places just in the world and across the world, there are stereotypes and there are stories and misconceptions. And although there is some truth to that, there is much more to the country or city that you visit beyond the quote unquote crime that may exist there. I will be completely honest. When we opted to go to Colombia, I was scared. I was scared leading up to this trip, and y'all can judge me and talk shit, that's fine. I was scared leading up to the trip. I was scared on my way there. I was scared when I arrived there, right? Like I had a lot of ideas. I had a lot of things that I had read. Colombia is on the reconsider travel list, okay? If you go to the, maybe it's the US Embassy or like one of those agencies that essentially makes recommendations on travel. It is considered, I think it's a level 3 in terms of crime. I think there are 4 levels. Don't quote me, I could be wrong. There could be more than 4 levels. But basically, the government will determine what places of the world they suggest you reconsider travel to, what places on the world you should not travel to because of the level of crime that is going on in that area. So, and the reason it's on the reconsider travel is due to the crime. It's due to kidnapping, robbing, trafficking, and I think just like aggravated violence, that's major, right? So I did see it was on the reconsider travel list. And also it also borders Venezuela. And if you're familiar with Venezuela, there's been a lot of, there's been war happening in Venezuela and just a lot of political things that are going on that are increasing the crime in that area. So 1, I knew it was dangerous. 2, I knew that it was on the reconsider travel list. And I had so many people telling me like, you shouldn't go, cancel your trip, which that was just adding to my anxiety. Anytime I travel, I'm always afraid. I could be traveling up north, I could be wherever. Like I'm always afraid because my concern is always, what if something happens to me? What if something happens to my dogs? What if something happens to my family and I can't get to them quickly or they can't get to me quickly? That's always my thought. Like I think it's just a natural thing that happens when I'm traveling where I get this anxiety. And I had it heavy for Colombia. But at this point, things are booked. I'd done my research. I knew what to look out for and I decided to take a leap of faith. Was that the best decision? Thankfully, We all ended up fine. We had a great trip. Nothing negative happened. And that's probably not going to be the case for everyone, right? You have to make the determination for yourself whether or not you feel comfortable traveling there, whether or not you feel like you've done enough research, you have enough information. But I personally felt safe when I was there. I will explain some of the things that did come up and just like tips and recommendations that I have for travel, but let's get back into it. So I just wanted to give that heads up that yes, I am aware it's considered unsafe, and I still took the leap and I went. And honestly, I am so glad that I did, because out of all the places that I visited, and there are so many places I have yet to see, but out of all of the countries that I have visited, Colombia is my favorite place. I feel like when I left Colombia, I left a piece of my heart there, and I cannot wait to return. I'm also considering looking into potentially buying property there. When I tell you I fell in love with this place, I fell in love with this place. And before that, my favorite country was Italy. And don't get me wrong, Italy's amazing, it's beautiful. I think the fact that I don't speak Italian makes it more difficult for me to like really immerse myself in the culture. And I was only there for a very short time. But Italy is right under Colombia, but Colombia is number one. A piece of my heart is there, and I can't wait till I return. So it was 5 nights and 6 days in Medellin. For me, where I was traveling from, there were 2 flights that I had to take. So one flight was into Florida, and then from Florida, I was there, I think it was like a 2-hour layover, and then from there it was like 3 hours to Colombia. So I think all in all, it was like 8 hours of travel. On the way back home, it was a little bit longer. I think it was like 10 hours. But overall, I couldn't find any direct flights. None of us could find direct flights. So depending on where you're traveling from, if you're already on the southern part of the states, then it might be easier for you to get there. Maybe it's just one flight right from Florida to there. But for me, I had to take 2 flights, and it was reasonable. We ended up staying in an Airbnb. It was a group of 9 of us, and I found the Airbnb. The Airbnb looked like a huge, beautiful house, almost like a McMansion, but it was nothing like that. It was an old hostel, and it had 11 beds, I think 9 bedrooms, 11 beds, and I think 4 full bathrooms. It had a jacuzzi, kitchen, dining room, little back patio. I think it was a great space. There was a lot to be left desired. I think when you take pictures for Airbnbs, they can look amazing, and then you get there and you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. But it got the job done, right? We all had a place to sleep. We had a place to eat. We had a place to lounge for a bit. We had a jacuzzi, which I never made it in there, even though I kept hyping myself up to get in there. Only one of us got in there. And it was in a great location. So we stayed in Poblado, Medellin. So the way that it was explained to me is Poblado is like, I believe, it's like the county, right? So it's like Poblado is the county, and inside of Poblado, there are several different little cities, or not cities, they're neighborhoods. Because Medellin is a city, Colombia is a country, Medellin is a city, Poblado was the county, and within there were several different neighborhoods and areas that we visited and explored. So I'm looking at my list. What did we do? Right? And then I'm gonna explain what made me fall in love with Colombia, where I'm like, I must come back here. I want to live here. I want to explore getting property here. So we did a lot of exploring, right? The first half of the trip was a group of us, and then the second half of the trip, the second group came because people were traveling different days. I flew back a day early because I had an event to attend today, but I wasn't ready to go. I was not ready to go. I'm going all over the place. I need to stick to my notes. Okay, so we went to Provenza. So Provenza is essentially like where a lot of nightlife exists in Medellin. Just think of several indoor, outdoor restaurants and bars. And when I say indoor, outdoor, there's an indoor portion, and there's always like a patio, or there is a rooftop, and there's always like an open patio area where you can see like amazing freaking views, bars, restaurants, stores, outdoor seating, greenery, people walking, people dancing outside. Just think of like a live nightlife of amazingness. So we visited Provenza. That was high on my list of something I wanted to check out. We visited, this is the part that one of the biggest parts that made me fall in love with Colombia. Comuna 13 is essentially like a neighborhood, and it it at some point was considered one of the most dangerous neighborhoods, I believe, in the world. We got a tour, and I was halfway listening to the tour and all the information, but there are some tidbits that stayed with me. Essentially, the government was trying to take over this part of the city, and the residents there were unwilling to give it up, right? So it's like they were fighting against having the government take it over, and eventually the community regained control and was able to keep their land. And from there, it has become like one of the most vibrant parts of Colombia. And now there are a lot of people that live there and they have existing businesses. So it's like during the day, it's just this live, again, it just when I think of Colombia, I just think of life, and I think of liveliness, people that are alive and happy, greenery, living, dancing, eating, drinking, just amazing vibes. But essentially, when you go to Comuna 13, it's in the mountains, right? So it's like you can just go up like this spiral. There are several steps, there are escalators now, and they're just people just selling all sorts of shit, whether that's food, whether that's alcohol, whether that's artisanal things, souvenirs. There are bars, there are restaurants, and there are performers. There are people break dancing, there are people rapping, there are people singing. Everything that you can imagine is going on there, and it's just like such a lit and cool space. And as you keep going higher and higher up, you're seeing these amazing fucking views of the city. Amazing views of the city. When I tell you, like, there were times that I would see views in Colombia where I'm like, this looks like a fucking painting. Like, this does not look real. And you'll see some of my YouTube shorts. I've uploaded some of the short videos that I took of some of the views that I saw there, but I'm just like, Comuna 13, I was just like, I'm in love with this city. I'm in love with this place. I'm in love with the people. But I'll get to all the things that I loved in a minute, even though that was like a big part of what made me feel like I belong here or I need to come back here. La 70 is essentially a street where a lot of the locals go to party. So Provenza is more of an area geared towards tourists where people may go to party, hang out, all the nightlife, whereas La 70, which is the street, because the streets are labeled by numbers. So we stayed on Calle 12, which is Street 12, and La 70, which is Street 70, like Calle 70. There's several bars and restaurants there, and there's nightlife there, and that is where the locals like to go. So differentiating between where the locals go and where the tourists go. Provenza tends to have prostitution. So prostitution is very high in Colombia as well. And I asked a lot of the locals, I said, are the prostitutes for the locals or are the prostitutes for the Americans? And they said, prostitutes are for the Americans because we don't understand why Americans come here and they pay for sex. So yeah, America, we ruined another part of the world. Who's surprised? Not me. So we tried to party at La 70 with the locals. I didn't try. A group of my friends did. But my understanding was that the locals were not very welcoming when, at least at the place that they tried to go to. They were not having it. I didn't try to dance because I'm not really a dancer. But we did try La 70. Another thing that people think about when they think about Colombia, they think about Pablo Escobar, which was like a huge cartel drug lord that operated in Colombia and really just like took over the country for a period of time. So he is dead, supposedly. I don't know if he is or isn't, but I like to imagine that like he fled the world, not fled the world, that's stupid. He fled the country and he is living somewhere under like a new identity with like loads of money, which I know is terrible. Most people want him dead, but I like to imagine that he got away. So my friend ended up finding a Pablo Escobar impersonator. Well, I think we both saw him. He looked like the spitting image of Pablo Escobar. She took a picture. I took her pictures. I took several pictures of her with him. He looked so freaking good. Like he looked like Pablo Escobar, literally. He was Turkish. He was not from Colombia, which I thought was interesting. Some of the malls in Colombia are considered like really great. So 2 malls were recommended to me. One of them was El Tesoro, which means the treasure, and the other one is called Santa Fe. So we went to Santa Fe Mall. It was a 6-level mall, I think 6 or 7 level mall. It had several different stores. A lot of the stores I was not familiar with, but it was like more like boutique style. But it was a really pretty mall. Half indoor, half outdoor. Again, there's this whole theme in Colombia where it's like you have places like you're on the third, fourth floor. You have these amazing views of the city where they had like their food court area, like just beautiful, beautiful spaces, which I really think that the people from Colombia do not really appreciate because they get to see that all the time. They think it's normal, but it's like us, we go there and we're like, wow, like you get to sit and eat and look at these stunning views all day. It was amazing. Laureles is a community also where a lot of the locals like to spend time and hang out. It's kind of like more like of a ritzy area. We went there as well. One of the best restaurants that we visited is called Mamacita, and it's in Poblado in Medellín, so in the area that we were staying in. The food was amazing. The drinks were amazing. The presentation of the food was amazing. Service was amazing. They had a performer, they had a band, they were singing and playing instruments, and they had happy hour specials. I think I had 2 drinks. I had like this beef tenderloin dinner and an appetizer, and I think after conversion my total was like $32. Whereas if that were a meal that I was having here where I live in the US, that meal probably would have been over $100 alone. Like the drinks, each drink would have been like $30. It would have been 60 in drinks alone, for sure. We did do some excursions. So we took one excursion, which was $30 a person, mind you, which is cheap as hell. We went to Guatapé, which is essentially this other neighborhood that's in the mountains. And at Guatapé, there is a huge mountain that they call La Piedra, which it's not a mountain. I guess it's a rock. It's a rock that is half out of the ground and half underneath the ground. And they have stairs that zigzag all the way up going to the top of that rock. I believe it's 700 and something steps to get up there, but it's just steps, y'all. So a few of us walked to the top. I felt like I was gonna pass out a couple of times because, mind you, it's hot as fuck. You're walking up these fucking steps. The views were amazing going up. Don't get me wrong. The views were amazing. I'm glad that I did it. My legs, like if I stretch my leg right now, my thighs still hurt. My freaking calves, my calves still hurt. Like it was a lot of walking. And yeah, it was worth it though. It was worth it. So we went to La Piedra, and then in that excursion, we also took a boat to a private island, which was amazing. Like the ride on the boat there and all the views of the water were amazing. The private island that we went to and the resort that we went to, stunning, with like infinity pool, jacuzzi on the corner of the edge. You can see all the mountains, all the water. And I'm gonna put up YouTube shorts of like some of the views and some of those places that I visited, so you can see them as well. Let's see what else. In terms of like the differences that we understood from the locals and the conversations that I had with the locals between Medellín, Cartagena, and Bogota. Medellín is like a metropolis city, right? It is surrounded by all land. You're unlikely to find beaches or things of that nature. Medellín is the most diverse area, so it was super diverse. That's one of the things that I loved. That's one of the things that really draws me to a lot of the places that I visit that I love and enjoy. I need diversity in everything. I need diversity in people. I need diversity in culture, art, clothing, food. Like I love variety. I don't ever want to feel like I'm in a box or like everything is like sameness or one, because I hate that feeling. And Medellín did not do that, right? It had a little bit of everything. Cartagena is known for its beautiful, beautiful beaches. I know that Cartagena is also considered to be a little bit less safe than Medellín. As I mentioned previously, Medellín is one of the safer parts of the country, which is why we opted to go there. And then Bogota is the capital of the city. So it's like huge. And from my understanding with my conversations with the locals in Bogota, because it is like the more northern part and it's like the city, Some of the people just think that they're better than you, right? So they're like uppity, not very welcoming, they're pretty cold. So I am personally glad that we opted to go to Medellin versus Cartagena or Bogota. One, for the safety, and two, just because it seemed like the perfect place where a lot of us fit just right in perfectly to how that city's already structured. What did I love about Colombia? What made a piece of my heart stay there? What made me get sad? I was getting emotional, you guys. So I think I have another video that I put up because the night before my flight, I had to be to the airport at like 11 o'clock at night so that I could catch my flight, which was yesterday morning at like 1:30. Everything's a blur because my brain is still like processing and adjusting to time. But I was in Provenza, taking down shots, taking drinks, because I'm like, I'm not ready to leave with my friends. And then I called my Uber. What's interesting was the Uber guy that brought us there was the same Uber that brought me back to the Airbnb. And then he picks me up again. He's like, oh, you're going home already? I'm like, yeah. Time for like vacation is over. You know, like it's over. And I was getting sad because I wasn't ready to go. I wasn't ready to leave. I was having a really good time. I was really enjoying my time there, getting to know and see the city. And it made me sad to think that like I had to come back to like my boring life. And I shouldn't say boring life, right? Like I have an amazing life. I can pick up to choose and go where I want to and travel when I want. But it's just the day-to-day, right? Where you work every day, you do this, you do that, you do this on the weekends. I was having a good time in Colombia and I wanted to stay longer. So what was it about Colombia that I loved? A couple things. One, super walkable. You can walk anywhere. People there walk everywhere. They have amazing legs. Some sidewalks are like at an angle, so they're uphill. So it's like amazing legs, amazing thighs, amazing butts. So my neighborhood is not that walkable, right? Like I could walk to the store now if I needed to, but it would probably take me 40 minutes to get there versus in Colombia, like there's something in every little spot and corner that you turn. Like in every neighborhood has pockets of like restaurants, stores, bars. It's just so much stuff. And it's like, I love that about it. I love that you can just walk at any point and get what you need, find what you're looking for, or stumble across like some gem of something like something you didn't even know you needed. Like there were so many places in the little community in which we stayed in that we didn't even get to explore. Like we kept going back to the same spots, but I'm sure like we missed some amazing places, people, and interactions because we were just like going to the same spots that we were familiar with. I love the nature. I have my plant here next to me. I love my indoor plants, but I loved all of the greenery, all of the plants, the variety, like trees everywhere. It's like you're walking through like a garden almost. I loved all the nature and greenery here. It's bland. There's a tree here or there. Like I loved walking through all these different tropical plants. A lot of the food was super fresh. So it's like every restaurant that you'd go to, like things taste differently. The fruit tastes differently. The vegetables taste differently. Things just looked and tasted a lot more fresh. I was eating lighter than I do here. The things were not as processed as they are here in the US. Everyone was super duper hospitable and welcoming, from our drivers, from our servers, bartenders, locals, just like random locals that you would just run into. Like everyone was super, super welcoming, super sweet. Any restaurant or place that we went to, everyone was like super on top of making sure that we were having a good time, asking how everything went, being pleasant, being kind, welcoming, wanting us to have a good time, wanting us to have fun. Yeah, everyone was super welcoming. When you go to a place where you just feel welcomed and wanted, it's a really nice feeling, right? It makes you feel like, wow, this feels like home to me. And it felt like it gave me that feeling like this is where I need to be. Of course, the men the men and women are beautiful, but the men are flirty, right? So it's like, the men were flirty as usual, and that was fun as well. It was a very clean city. My friend said she saw a rat. I never saw one, but yeah, I didn't see like trash on the ground, even though it's like, I think there are 2 million people that live in, maybe 4. I heard two numbers. I heard 2 million, then I heard 4 million. I don't know how many million, but there was not like trash all over the ground. It didn't smell like piss. Where when I went to Spain, it smelled like fucking piss every time you step outside, or when you go to New York, it can smell like piss. There's trash everywhere, there's rats. It was not like that. Like, it was pretty clean. The bathrooms were clean. I have visited some place, Mexico included. I visited some place where I'm like, these bathrooms are fucking disgusting. Every bathroom that I used was clean, which is rare to say, but it was very clean. The restaurants were super clean. Things in Colombia, my trip to Colombia, everything was just easy. It was easy. It was simple, right? Like, you want this? Oh, yes. You want to split the bill? Sure. You need a car? Sure. Oh, you're looking to find this? Here it is. Just go up this way. Oh, yeah. People were just so helpful. It was easy. It was an easy, easy trip. The dogs, you guys, there were so many dogs. When we went to Guatape and that one island, there were like several stray dogs, but the stray dogs, they don't even look stray. Like, you cannot see their ribs. Like, they're fat. Like my little dog that's down here that I would pick up and show you guys, they're fat. Like, people are feeding them. One of our tour guides was telling us that the dogs get to sleep like in the stores. They can sleep in the church if they need to. Like, they don't belong to anyone. They're like street dogs, but everyone cares and looks after them and like feeds them, which I thought was super sweet because obviously I'm a dog lover. So that was really sweet to see. What else made me fall in love with it? It was just so lively. And I said this earlier in the video. It was so lively, from the people, from the nature, from just the energy of the space. Like, everyone was so welcoming, so lively, happy, dancing, music, drinking, but not like in an excessive way. Just like people that were, I'm almost getting emotional thinking about it. Maybe it's because I'm tired, but it's like, in Colombia, you can see that people genuinely either enjoyed being there or they really enjoy living there. And I'm not saying that everyone has or had a perfect life, or everyone that was there was like having the time of their lives. But what I felt in Colombia from my interactions with people and from me watching people that were locals is that despite whatever the fuck people have going on, they made the most of what they had, and they made the most of whatever moment, and they were just happy to be fucking alive. Versus here, you know, we're so materialistic. One, we're so caught up in materialism and consumerism that I think that sometimes we get bogged down by life. We get bogged down by our feelings, and we don't see the beauty in life anymore because you're worried about the bills, you're worried about this, you're worried about work. You know what I'm saying? We lose the like the essence of like just being in love with life. And I think that's not lost in Colombia. People are, even if they're having a shit ass day, I did not experience one person that I felt was like pissed or angry or over life. Like, there's so much life in Colombia. I felt alive there. Options galore. There were just so many options, so many, everywhere you turn, restaurant, bar, store, it's so much of everything. But it wasn't just like in one place. Like, when I went to Japan, what area was it? I can't remember the cities in Japan or the areas or the neighborhoods, whatever. When I went to Japan, like, there was one area where it's like so much of everything, like New York, jam-packed in like multiple blocks, but that was just that area. You know what I mean? In Colombia, every neighborhood is like that. It's not just one area. Every neighborhood has a ton of bars, a ton of restaurants, a ton of stores. Like, there's so much of everything, which I love having options. Who doesn't, right? The views, there were amazing views. You could get into rooftops, didn't have to pay a cover. You can go sit up there, have lunch, have a drink, and just have these stunning views that look like you pulled them out of a fucking magazine, look like you pulled them out of a fucking museum that was like painted, hand painted, just like these amazing, amazing, breathtaking views of the city. And there's just a lot of variety, right? Whatever you were looking for. If you're looking for sushi, if you're looking for Mexican food, Argentinian food, Peruvian food, anything that you can imagine, they have it. Did I try it all? No, because I didn't have enough time to try it all. But I love the idea and option to have variety. Those are some of the things that made me fall in love with Colombia. And the people, like I said, the people were so, so sweet. All of our drivers were amazing. All the people that served us were amazing. They were so flexible with us. Okay, so now we're gonna get into my recommendations, and then that'll be the end of this video. You can let me know your thoughts below, but let's get into the recommendations. Okay, so first things first, it is highly recommended that you not just like wave down a taxi, so a yellow cab. You're very likely to get scammed in the sense that, one, they're gonna quote you for one price, then when you get there, they may charge you more. Two, you risk being human trafficked, kidnapped, etc. You should not do that. What I would recommend is using Uber and using the app and picking the regular Uber cart and using that because it's trackable, it's traceable. Although Uber is illegal in Colombia, many people are still operating Uber. If they get pulled over by the police, I think their fine is $300 US or 500, and then their license gets like suspended for a day. So use Uber if you need to, but the best thing to do, I would say, is if you get a driver that maybe took you from the airport or someone that's referred to you, like one of our drivers, he was referred through a friend of mine because her friend, he was in Colombia, and we got his number and we were working with him to do pickups and drop-offs, and I met another driver and I was working with him to do pickups and drop-offs. So if you connect with someone and their price is right, they're reliable, you get their information and use them as your driver. Like if you need something, then coordinate with them or get multiple people, right? Sometimes it's not gonna work for everyone's schedule, but it's like build a rapport with a driver or two and use that person while you're there. If you can, speak Spanish. I am fluent in Spanish, and then there were 2 other people in our group that spoke Spanish. So if you can learn Spanish, that'll really help. If you can't learn Spanish, hopefully you're traveling with someone that learns Spanish or knows Spanish, or you learn a couple of phrases, and just be prepared to use those phrases or to use an application to help you communicate while you're there. Colombian currency. So I took currency from the US there. I requested currency through my bank and that came in within like 24 hours. I think they say you only need $50 US a day. I took $300, but I was shopping. I think I probably spent $800. That's just on like food and shopping. And then I spent, I think I spent $500 on my flight and my bags, and I think it was $400 on my hotel stay. And then there were other expenses, right? Like getting my hair done, getting my nails done, my eyebrows, my eyelashes, getting my dog sitter. But those expenses, we're not gonna count those. So I think all in all, I spent about $1,500 on this trip. But also, I think the trip can be done cheaper. I like what I like. And if I go somewhere and I want something, I get it. So you don't have to spend that much, but I'm just giving you an idea of what I spent on this trip. So you can get the pesos ahead of time. You can get them at the airport. You can get them at the bank. I would recommend getting them ahead of time. I think that's how you get the best conversion rate. You can also use credit or debit. Some places are going to be funky in terms of they're not going to want you to use that credit or debit card. There's always going to be a 5% charge on your total if you do use a card. And some places don't want US dollars. So it's like you should come prepared with Colombian pesos or have a plan to get those once you get there. Make friends, right? We all made some friends on this trip. I made friends with one of the drivers and, well, 2 of the drivers, yeah, because then he was able to go pick up my friends from the airport. But just make friends, be open to meeting people, be open to connecting with people, but don't be too open, be discerning as well. What else? Make sure you have walkable shoes. I learned my lesson from some previous trips that I took last year, And I brought 2 pair of gym shoes, a pair of Tiva sandals. I'm looking over because my luggage is still on the floor. And 2 pair of heels. But my heels were not like thin, stiletto-y heel. They weren't like crazy heels because I knew this was gonna be cobblestone roads. I knew I couldn't handle that. So make sure you wear walkable shoes that are comfortable. There's going to be a lot of walking, a lot of walking. So make sure you bring walkable, comfortable shoes. In terms of outfits, I mean, I'm a girl, but if you're a guy, you know what to do. But as a girl, I brought a couple of, I think 6, 7 dresses, some shorts, a pair of jeans, some yoga pants, and just a lot of like tank top shirts, a couple of bathing suits, just do what you need to do. Plan for the weather. The weather was in like 70-ish degrees. There was rain. The rain was inconsistent, right? It was like you really didn't know when it was going to happen. And then sometimes it would happen at night and it would like last all night, which is really annoying. So either bring an umbrella or keep an umbrella or purchase an umbrella because it's going to come in handy. Or bring a poncho or like a raincoat. My next advice would be follow directions and follow the guidance that the locals give you. Anytime I was with a local, I would ask them a lot of questions, right? I wanted to know, what should I do? What should I not do? What do Colombians find rude or disrespectful? Anytime I visit somewhere, I never want to be disrespectful. I do my research ahead of time and I want to make sure that I'm not coming off like an ignorant person and that I'm not offending anyone. So whatever directions or guidance they give you, follow it. Some of the guidance that they gave us, not to wear jewelry, not to be flashy, not to be wearing all this name brand because you're making yourself a target to get robbed. Always guard your phone, watch your phone, don't put it in your back pocket, don't leave it on the table, hold on to it. If you have a purse, wear it as a crossbody diagonally so that if someone pulls up, a lot of motorcycles, if someone wants to pull and snatch it, they can't pull it because it's on you. What else did they say? They told us not to take the yellow taxis. They told us to be cautious even with Ubers because people can still be trying to traffic you, trying to scam you. They told us not to interact with the street people, essentially like the homeless people that were like asking for money. And I think the reason is, one, you can make yourself a target to get robbed, right? If you go to pull out your money, they could just snatch everything and run. And two, once you engage like one of them, you're basically engaging all of them because they're all just going to swarm you and like start asking you for stuff and it can become overwhelming. So it's just best to not engage them. And I think that is it. Like I said, please look out for my YouTube shorts, which I will show you some of the views and some of the things that I reference in this video. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your questions if you have any about my travel to Colombia. I think I covered everything. Like I said, it was an amazing place. It is the most favorite country I've visited thus far, and it has kept a piece of my heart, and I cannot wait to go back. And I hope that if you haven't visited there or if you haven't considered it, I hope that you consider it. I hope that you go. Like anything, we always need to be cautious when we're traveling. Shit, I need to be cautious at home. You know what I mean? Like, we should always be alert. And the last thing I'll say, because this is something I didn't touch on, is in terms of safety. Because one of my friends, like, she asked me, she's like, did you feel safe when you were there? I felt safe. I think it helps when you speak the language, because I know what people are saying. I know when people are bullshitting me and I can call them out on their bullshit. I felt safe when I was there. There were instances where, like one time we were standing outside of a restaurant and the owners of the restaurant were like, you should, because you guys are on your phone, you shouldn't stand so close to like the sidewalk or street because someone could just like drive up and steal your phone. And that happened to some of our other customers. So there were instances where it's like people would give us like warnings, which I appreciated, but generally I felt safe. Like I never felt unsafe. I was worried when I was alone with my driver. Like that made me worried because it's like, I'm a woman, it's 10 something at night and he's driving me to my Airbnb, but he was super respectful. I mean, he was flirting with me, but it was nothing like, I didn't feel like my life was in danger. So yeah, I felt safe. I think it also helped that I was in a group, right? I wasn't there by myself. I didn't travel there by myself. I think it's different when you're by yourself. And I followed the directions. I avoided the areas that they told us to avoid. I avoided trying to draw attention to myself. I was always in a group. I was polite. I was respectful. I didn't engage the street people, and I felt safe. There was never a moment where I felt unsafe. I think my biggest hesitation and concern was when we first got there, determining how we were going to get from the airport to our Airbnb, which was like 45 minutes. And I told my friends, I said, we need to vote. We use Uber or we use this guy that's telling us that he can get us there. We ended up using the guy. He was a great guy. And I told him in Spanish, I'm like, if we don't get home or where we're supposed to, we're all going to basically beat your ass. And he was laughing, but we meant it because we were going to fuck him up if we had to. And thankfully, no one had to get violent with anyone. And I told my friends, right, like anytime we'd get like an Uber car and we were like on edge about that, we were outnumbered. Like it was more of us than it was of them. But also, I'll fight whenever I need to, but I can't fight someone that has a weapon, right? So that's where you have to like scale it back and just keep in mind that you can't bring a sword or knife to a gunfight. What do they say? Anyway, I didn't have a knife. I didn't have a gun. All I had was these fists. And thankfully, no one had to use them. And we had a safe trip and we all made it back safely. So let me know your thoughts. If you have questions, drop them down below and check out some of my YouTube shorts if you're considering places to visit. I put those up and I'm working on putting the rest of them up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one.